Coming up, the highest court in Kansas rules in favor of partisan gerrymandering.
We've got thunderstorm activity already moving into the north. Question is, how long will it be until everybody gets a taste of the precipitation? The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Joplin's Easttown moves one step closer to historic designation.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories and more in just a few minutes. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Yeah, we got that system that we were focusing in on yesterday. It started out in New Mexico. Still is training from New Mexico up to the Panhandles and then Kansas. Staying up to our north is clipping our far northern counties. Most of it, though, headed toward Kansas City. It is going to be a little bit of a wet morning if you have to go to the south. Pleasant 7th and Rangeline right now, 73 degrees, a whole bunch of 71s to 76s, so a little bit warmer than what we encountered yesterday. Let's focus back in on our range of thunderstorm activity up here because the lightning track will show you right along that line of the heaviest rain is where we see the majority of the lightning strikes as well. As this progresses toward 69 and I-49, you got to make that trip up to KC. That's what you're going to be running into, and slowly but surely we'll see a little bit of it begin to filter right there into the central and southern portions. Not going to be widespread. We do already have some advisories up. Those are heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma. You look at that gray right there. Normally that would indicate a dense fog advisory, but instead when it's hot, hazy, and humid, those actually become air quality warnings running from the state line all the way south of Tulsa. National perspective, it was really just us right now. Like I said, stretching out of New Mexico. We're kind of in the thick of it, and luckily it's not severe. Weather trend for today, we'll scrape 90. Be a little bit better than what it has been past couple of days with the clouds kind of hanging around. Just a little northeast breeze. It'll actually shift on us. And here's what Future Track has in store. We get to the afternoon, that's when we see it begin to pop up there in the middle. Take us from Wednesday night into Thursday morning. A little bit Thursday morning, but still not looking at anything severe as it continues to move from west to east. And then we sit back and we get ready for that scorcher that we know is headed our way on Friday and Saturday. Those will be some of the hottest consecutive days of the year. Rain giving us a little reprieve. Go roll 90s back to back.
I see how you moved Saturday up to triple digits.
Why not?
We were riding at 98.
Going out with a bang.
But the light at the end of the tunnel, keep adding 80-degree temperatures on every day next week.
That system rolls through Saturday night into Sunday. It's going to be delightful next week.
That's going to be great. We're going to need it by then, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the highest court in Kansas rules that the state constitution does not prohibit partisan gerrymandering. On Tuesday, the justices split 4-3 in explaining their reasons for previously upholding a Republican congressional redistricting law. The state Supreme Court issued only a brief opinion last month in approving the new congressional map. The court's majority said the Kansas Constitution permits lawmakers to consider partisan factors in redistricting. Joplin residents get an update on the process to add Easttown to the Historic National Register. The Broadway district of Easttown has now been nominated to that register. If it becomes approved, it would recognize the significance and history of the area to its community, preserve and archive the generated research, and allow for special funding for the district.
The criteria is the baseline is they have to be 50 years old. And they have to have some sense of historic integrity, and that what they say, would the owner recognize it if they came up today as their house or building. So that's the baseline, but after that it should have like some type of historic story.
The district would need to be approved by the state first, then the federal registry. A top Texas police official says officers had enough manpower and firepower to stop the gunman 3 minutes after he entered Robb Elementary and eventually killed 19 children and 2 teachers. At a state Senate hearing yesterday, Colonel Steve McCraw called the police response to the massacre an abject failure. Trinity Chavez reports.
The head of the Texas Department of Public Safety is blasting the police response to the Uvalde mass shooting. Colonel Steve McCraw testified there were enough armed officers in the school hallway 3 minutes after the gunman walked into the school, but police waited 74 minutes before breaching what is now said to be an unlocked door.
I don't believe, based on the information we have right now, that that door was ever secured. In fact, I have great reason to believe it wasn't secured. How about trying the door? and see if it's unlocked.
McGraw said officers had the manpower, equipment, and time to, quote, neutralize the suspect.
The officers had weapons. The children had none. The officers had body armor. The children had none.
McGraw placed blame on the Uvalde School Police Chief, Pete Arredondo.
The only thing stopping a hallway of dedicated officers from entering room 111 and 112 was the on-scene commander, who decided to place the lives of officers before the lives of children.
Arredondo has said he didn't have initial firepower to take on the 18-year-old gunman. In Uvalde Tuesday, the city council voted unanimously against giving Arredondo, who is a council member, a leave of absence from appearing at public meetings. Victims' family members, including the grandmother of 10-year-old Anne-Marie Jo Garza, spoke out.
Please, please, we're begging. Get this man out of our lives.
Garza, who was killed as she tried to call 911, received one of the Girl Scouts' highest honors earlier this month for giving her life to save others. Trinity Chavez, CBS News, New York.
Senate negotiators agreed on a bipartisan gun violence bill on Tuesday. Among the provisions, tougher background checks on younger firearms buyers, stricter rules for firearms sellers, and more gun trafficking penalties. The Senate could pass the bill by the end of the week. In a statement, the National Rifle Association said it opposes the measure, which it would place an unfair burden on law-abiding gun owners. On Tuesday, local State Farm owner Nate Long gave the Miami Fire Department $2,000 to help restore an antique fire truck. Some members of the fire department are helping refurbish the 1949 No. 6 Seagrave. Various fundraisers have raised more than $13,000 for the $15,000 project.
It immediately sparked an interest as a, previous career fireman. I've got a lot of family that still does it, and it's kind of personal. I enjoy it, and I was excited to be able to help.
The Seagrave fire truck was in service from 1949 to the 80s. According to the CDC, more than 600 heat-related deaths occur annually in the U.S. One of the most common places is at construction work sites. The construction crew of RFB Construction in Pittsburgh combat the heat by wearing hats, thin long-sleeve shirts, staying hydrated with water and electrolytes, and adjusting start and stop times.
When it's really hot like this, and especially when we're pouring concrete, we'll do some early pours. Like maybe we'll start at 5 instead of starting at like an 8 a.m. pour. And we'll quit early. Maybe we'll quit at like 2 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.
Later in the show, we'll hear from our own KOAM's Jalen Banks, who had a chance to talk to one of the workers.
It's a weak front. That's how it's defined. Even though we do see some heavy rain with it, it is considered a weak front. And that's why it's not going to bring us anything severe. It's almost kind of arching around us right now. And that's not to say our far northern counties aren't getting some rain and a little bit of lightning as well. If we go back and take a look at it, what it's been for the last 15 minutes, it's a fair amount along that one little patch. Remember, we still have the heat advisories until 8 o'clock tonight for our far southern counties in northeast Oklahoma, but our highs, not too bad comparatively speaking where we've been past couple of days. Spotty rain showers today and around 90. Your typical summer day.
Typical hot summer day. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Amazon has hubs across the country for package delivery, but the residents of one southwest Missouri city turned to a different location. We'll explain. Plus, the USDA teams up with Habitat for Humanity to turn some renters into homeowners. And one new study updates sleep guidelines for infants for the first time in 6 years. With the details. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Amazon provides hubs all over the country. They're in convenience stores, grocery stores, apartment buildings, or even in malls. Tech giant uses these alternative shipping locations to help prevent package theft. As Lauren Schwenker shows us, more and more people in one southwest Missouri city are turning to the local come-and-go stations for delivery.
Businesses are stepping up to use services to help prevent package theft. The newest, Amazon Hub.
We've definitely seen it pick up on our end. I mean, I think there's a couple different reasons why we offer it and why people use it. But I mean, it allows customers the convenience of having their packages sent to a secure nearby location.
According to Amazon, the program enables any business with a physical location to offer secure package pickup and returns to Amazon customers. The 2 Come and Go locations in Republic are serving as hubs. Amazon says the self-service kiosk allows you to pick up your package at a place and time that's convenient for you, even evenings and weekends. Right now in Republic, these hubs do not offer the return service.
As terms of our offerings, we only offer the package pickup option. So customers can have packages delivered. At this time, we don't handle or accept returns.
Business model makes sense. I mean, while you're there, you may say, oh, I need a couple gallons of gas, need X, Y, and Z. Makes perfect sense. Amazon Hub service available at all the Come and Go stores in the Republic, Missouri area. Harvest Bank gives the Joplin School District a check to wrap up its 2022 Million Meals campaign. Million Meals is an annual fundraising event held by Harvest Bank to help feed people in the 4-state area and raise awareness about food insecurity. Yesterday, Harvest gave the Joplin School District more than $8,800 to support Joplin Bright Futures.
So Harvest's partnership with Joplin Bright Futures has continued for so many years because we really feel like Joplin Bright Futures makes a real difference in these students' lives and kids' lives across the entire 4 states.
No relation, former TV dude though. Great guy as well. Campaign raised money for more than 1.9 million meals across the Harvest footprint, with 109,000 meals given out in the 4-state area alone. After a 3-month wait, the Spiva Center for the Arts receives $5,000 from the Corley Memorial Trust Grant. The grant allows summer camp prices to be reduced from $100 all the way down to $20, which has resulted in a huge increase in enrollment.
Within a day of announcing our receipt of the grant and the lower class prices, we were full on almost all of our classes within the first 24 to 48 hours.
Classes are available for both children and adults. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Ecuador enters the 4th day of what its president calls a state of emergency due to nationwide protests. We'll have the latest and to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. 5:17, roll some weather on the 7s. Our record high for June the 22nd, not too antiquated, only dates back to 2016, so it was just 6 years ago, where we got up to 98 degrees. We'll be up around 90, so not too far above our average high for this time of year. There's a live look over a quiet 7th and Range line. We haven't really picked up hardly any traffic going as of yet. 73 degrees, nice and calm. High humidity. That's just a result of that low pressure system that's moving in from the southwest right now. Temperatures are 76 in Parsons and Chanute, 69 in Monette. Let's roll 75 in Miami, 73 in Nevada. Wind doing a big shift on us. Now going to move in from the north-northwest, but at least it's still going at 5 miles per hour. You can tell we're right in the middle of that shift as well. Get through the central portion of the 4 states, still get the southerly breeze. Really doesn't take much of it off temperature-wise, simply because it's staying in between that 5 to 10 mile per hour realm. Here's the system that we were talking about, giving us some rain up in our far northern counties. We do see some bouts of heavy rain there around Garnett. And it's also packing lightning right along that little minute, almost a small little horseshoe is what we got right there. And speaking of horseshoe shapes, it's kind of arcing around us as it takes off from New Mexico, then loops through Kansas. And instead of continuing off to the northeast right there, it wants to stall out around Kansas City. So if you're going to be on Highway 69 or I-49, that's what you're going to be running into today. We also have a heat advisory in effect for northeast Oklahoma. That's indicated in the orange. The gray that you see, air quality warning. Not uncommon this time of year for metropolitan areas. That kind of comes out of Tulsa. Right there is what that's indicative of in surrounding areas. It gives you an idea of the high ozone for those of you that live down in that area and have breathing problems. Best thing to do when we get an air quality warning is to really try to spend the majority of the time inside. It's not only the ozone, it's also, we've got pollen, we've got the CO2 from commuters and whatnot. So that's kind of just a Quick little recap. You see little spots of gray there. You see it in the DFW area. Actually see it up in Denver right there as well. That's a little bit of an anomaly. You see Atlanta has an air quality warning. So that's just a little summer primer on what that means once again. Skywatch Storm Tracker, not a whole lot of action. They will pick up on the Atlantic coast here later on today. Our storm system is kind of the main one throughout the contiguous 48, but even at that, it's not anything severe to worry about. Weather trend for today, a little bit cooler than what we've had past couple of days, as we'll be able to hang, say around 90 degrees. Mostly sunny skies, but we will have cloud cover come and go. And the rain is going to be spotty, but a tad bit persistent. You'll notice it never gets organized, however. This is a pretty weak front. It's never able to gather a whole lot of energy and, rip through a good line. It just kind of, you get bouts right there. You get 10, 15 minutes of heavy rain, and that'll push through all the way into Thursday night. And so really, it's got a couple of days of it here. But the severe thunderstorm risk map shows that we don't even qualify in the marginal category. And once you get into that lighter green, that is simply just good old-fashioned summer rain. We can say summer now. This will be our first full day of summer. Back-to-back 90s with the rain on Wednesday and Thursday, then lock in for Friday and Saturday. Those are going to be scorchers. Those heat advisories, those will probably turn to some excessive heat warnings and be much more widespread throughout the 4 states before a nice little cold front arrives for next week and drops us back down into the 80s. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Insta poll on our Facebook page. Right now, there's an effort to provide access to affordable housing for rural Americans. United States Department of Agriculture partnering with South Central Habitat for Humanity to turn renters into homeowners. Marissa Voss introduces us to one such homeowner.
Very hard to figure out how I was going to rent and purchase a home, as I'm a single parent on one income. So being part of the Habitat was a dream come true for us.
For Erica De Leon and Virginia Smith, all they have known is apartments and townhomes.
Looked at 4 white walls everywhere we were living at. It was every time you hung a picture, like, oh great, I got to make sure I fix that before I leave, type of a feeling.
Hey, I have my own room now too, and my own art studio, so I can have space to hang it up like this.
Thanks to Habitat for Humanity and United States Department of Agriculture, they have a house to call their own.
So congratulations. Thank you.
It's something that De Leon has been dreaming about for years, a home to decorate and to host intimate family gatherings.
We have a house. You want to see, like my house. This is my house. So we actually use it as often. I use it as often. I'm like, I'm going to go home to my house, my home.
Habitat and USDA have been working together to bring people's dreams to fruition.
We guarantee the loan, and without our loan, it would take Habitat 30 years to recoup the money to build another house.
USDA has invested $203 million to help more than 1,100 families and individuals in Minnesota's rural and tribal areas.
I think having a safe, affordable roof over your head and a house like this is going to make all the difference in Erica and Virginia's life.
There are no words to describe how De Leon and Smith feel about moving into their forever home.
So I never thought the house was going to be as big and beautiful as it actually is.
Since 2018, USDA's partnership with South Central Habitat for Humanity has resulted in the financing and construction, some people may call it construction, of 8 new homes for residents looking to live in rural communities. Our question for you this morning is, where do you call home? You can vote by going to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, take you right to the poll, or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. Be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the American Academy of Pediatrics is updating its sleep guidelines for babies. Its main message, co-sleeping under any circumstances is not safe. The AAP says that while many parents choose to share a bed with their baby to help with breastfeeding or because of cultural preferences, the evidence shows that co-sleeping significantly raises the baby's risk of injury or death. The agency says some 3,500 infants die from sleep-related deaths every year in the U.S., and many of them from socially disadvantaged communities. The AAP also says to avoid using incline products or crib decorations. It recommends parents put babies to sleep alone on a flat, firm mattress with a snug fitted sheet, and instead of a blanket, use a swaddle sack. This is the first update to the AAP's sleep guidelines since 2016. Tobacco makers could have to lower nicotine levels in cigarettes in the future. On Tuesday, the Food and Drug Administration announced plans to change the rules, bringing down nicotine to non-addictive levels. That would be in line with President Joe Biden's pledge to reduce cancer deaths by 50% over 25 years. Close to 500,000 Americans die every year from causes attributed to smoking. It could take the Food and Drug Administration more than a year to implement it. During that time, the public would be asked to comment on it during a review period. The tobacco industry could also challenge such a regulation in court. Well, summertime means it's tick season in much of the country, and one bite could change your life forever. Elise Preston explains how you can protect yourself.
The CDC says May and June are the peak months for tick bites that send people to the emergency room. The Northeast is the epicenter for ticks in the U.S., but last year, tick cases were reported in 48 states. Scientists say that's due to climate change. The CDC says nearly 500,000 Americans get treatment for a bite every year. A tick bite can lead to an illness like Lyme disease that can affect your joints, heart, and nervous system. A bite from a Lone Star tick found in parts of the Northeast, South, and Midwest can cause you to be allergic to red meat. The CDC says the range and abundance of Lone Star ticks is growing. To protect yourself, health experts recommend using tick repellent spray with DEET, picaridin, IR 3535, oil of lemon eucalyptus, paramethane diol, or 2-undecanone. You can treat clothing and gear with products containing 0.5% permethrin. After spending time outside, check your body for ticks. Showering is ideal. If you find a tick, carefully remove it with tweezers or even your fingers. Ticks can hitchhike on clothes too, so check those as well. If you develop fever, headache, fatigue, or a skin rash, especially a bullseye type redness around a bite, see your doctor. Lyme disease needs to be caught early for effective treatment with antibiotics. There's also a Lyme disease vaccine that Pfizer is working on. The third phase of testing the drug will start in July. About 100 Maine residents will participate in the 13-month trial. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, the highest court in Kansas rules in favor of partisan gerrymandering.
We've got beautiful skies over 7th and Range Line, but rain on the way. We've got the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Joplin's Easttown moves one step closer to historic designation.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:32. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Pretty start for most of the 4 states, except up to the north. That's where we're already picking up a little thunderstorm activity. We got a band that's kind of arching around from central Kansas, and instead of completely moving off to the northeast like its original track, it kind of stops about on I-70 and then heads off toward Kansas City, and that's resulting in some heavier rain up in the Garnett area. The lightning tracker also, too, has been rather impressive along this singular band of heavy rain that we have. Other than that, it kind of backs off on either side of it. But please know that that is also headed toward Highway 69 and I-49 should you have to make the trek up north. Beautiful start over 7th and Range Line, 73 degrees right now. A whole bunch of 73s out there in Miami and Oswego as well, though Lamar in there. 76 in Parsons, even where to the far north where we are seeing a little bit of the rain. Really not resulting in any type of a cool down. Partly cloudy skies really for everybody else, resulting in a gorgeous, gorgeous sunrise. We have heat advisories for the far south in northeastern Oklahoma all the way until 8 o'clock tonight. The gray, that is an indicator of an air quality warning. So if you have breathing problems and you live down to the south, please be apprised of that. Spotty rain showers continue throughout the day. It's a very weak front. It's not able to get organized. It's not going to be impressive. No wind, no hail. Don't have to worry about severe thunderstorm activity. But just kind of comes and goes all the way through Thursday. Then we get ready for a massive heat up to end the work week on Friday and begin our weekend. 100 on Saturday.
I hope everybody's air conditioners are working well this weekend. That's for sure.
I think if you know it's not, you've already had multiple weeks to go ahead and fire it up.
I know. I just hope they don't break. Oh man, yeah. And if you don't have a working AC have a place where you can go to stay cool.
That's right. We'll probably see the reemergence of those cooling centers there on Friday and Saturday.
For sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, Joplin residents get an update on the process to add Easttown to the Historic National Register. The Broadway district of Easttown has now been nominated to that register. If it's approved, it would recognize the significance and history of the area to its community, preserve and archive the generated research, and allow for special funding for the district.
I wanted to highlight just the perseverance of Joplin's African American community, and it hasn't always been easy to live here, especially at the turn of the century where there were expulsions and lynchings throughout southeastern Missouri. There's quite a bit, and the sense of resilience and perseverance that I discovered when I researched it, it was stunning.
The district would need to be approved by the state first and then the federal registry. Well, there's a good chance your KOAM or Fox 14 signal looks a little glitchy right now, but don't worry, it's a sign of progress. We started broadcasting from a lower temporary antenna while a crew installs a new, more technically advanced antenna at the top of our tower. This is the final step in our More Power project. It will allow some viewers who previously lost our signal to get us once again. Now, if all goes to plan, we'll be back up and stronger than ever very soon. Well, summer has officially arrived, and as we all try to beat the heat, one of the most common places where safety is needed, construction sites. KOAM's Jalen Banks catches up with some workers to see how they stay safe.
According to the CDC, more than 600 heat-related deaths happen in the U.S. a year, and the three most common places these happen are homes without AC, cars, and construction work sites.
The RFB construction team is finding ways to combat the heat to ensure their safety.
When it's really hot like this, and especially when we're pouring concrete, we'll do some early pours. Like maybe we'll start at 5 instead of starting at an 8 a.m. pour. And we'll quit early. Maybe we'll quit at 2 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.
The crew also combats the heat by wearing sunscreen, sunglasses, brimmed hats to cover their face, and thinner long sleeve shirts.
A lot of people be asking us, why you guys wear long sleeves? You know, we wear long sleeves because, when you're working out here on the heat, you sweat. And if you get a little cold breeze, that'll cool you down. So that's one of the reasons why we wear the long sleeve shirts. Because we get that, we get asked that a lot.
The workers know that hydration and nutrition is something that does not start the day of, but the day before.
You gotta make sure you eat good, very good, get good sleep at night. Try to drink plenty of water, just to be good the next day.
In Pittsburgh, at the RFB construction site, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
For more information on how to stay safe in the heat, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. The heat's not going anywhere anytime soon, right, Michael?
It is not. Our temperature is going to be in the 90s. Big factor for the next 48 hours is really some spotty shower activity. Our accumulation numbers really aren't going to amount to much, and believe it or not, even coming off of how wet May was, we're actually going to have to start checking on the drought monitor. I know that seems bizarre, but it's been the fact that we've been so dry and so hot for so long. We're starting to see the vegetation take the brunt of the hot temperatures. So a little rain, not a bad thing right now.
This morning, we're discussing Home Sweet Home. Erica De Leon and Virginia Smith have only ever known renting, either through apartments or townhomes. But thanks to Habitat for Humanity and the United States Department of Agriculture, they have a house to call their own. In fact, the USDA has invested $203 million to help more than 1,100 families and individuals in some communities. For many people, owning that home is the essence of the American dream. And having a place to call your own can make for a very home sweet home indeed. Our question this morning, where do you call home?
And right now, Tonya, I'm watching the numbers move. 86% say it is indeed a house with 14, and see, that's what I'm saying, it's moving fast this morning. 88% with a house, 12% in a mobile home. Our other choices being apartment, RV, or the vaunted other. Each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now.
All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, we meet a frog who's become an internet underdog due to its inability to land on its own feet. Plus, Russia labels 2 Americans who were fighting with Ukraine criminals. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, a member of the Air Force is accused of attacking his fellow service members. Airman was arrested by military law enforcement on June 16th in connection to an April attack at a U.S. military base in northern Syria. The attack left 4 U.S. service members injured. The Pentagon is refusing to disclose any additional details at this time. Initially, U.S. officials said they believe the April 7th attack was caused by indirect fire on the base in a similar manner to rocket and mortar attacks that have been carried out in the region by militia groups. However, a week later, a military statement said after further investigation, the attack was believed to be a result of deliberate placement of explosive charges at an ammunition holding area and shower facility. The 4 injured service members were treated for traumatic brain injuries after the explosions. They have since returned to duty. As the fighting in eastern Ukraine ramps up, the Kremlin says 2 Americans being held in Russia are criminals who were fighting with the Ukrainians. Steve Harrigan has more.
As the war intensifies along the Eastern Front, we are learning more about the fate of Americans who went missing after fighting alongside the Ukrainians. 52-year-old Steven Zabielski has been missing since May. He's now been confirmed to have died in battle against Russian forces in southern Ukraine. 2 other men, Alexander Druki and Andy Wynn, both former American service members, are being held by Moscow. The Kremlin saying Tuesday they will not be given the same protections as prisoners of war. Instead, they're being treated as, quote, criminals and facing a possible death penalty.
It's appalling that a public official in Russia would even suggest the death penalty for 2 American citizens that were in Ukraine.
The move is being seen by some as a diplomatic escalation at a time when the Russians are regrouping for a major new push to take the Donbas region. But the Ukrainians are putting up fierce resistance, and they say the next few days could decide the fate of eastern Ukraine, with President Volodymyr Zelensky appealing for more aid from the West, saying it's urgently needed to stop the Russian artillery.
The end of this war and its circumstances depend on the world's attention. And that's why I need allies.
U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland arrived in Ukraine on Tuesday for an unannounced visit to offer U.S. assistance in investigating Russian war crimes. On Tuesday, Ecuador faced its 4th day of a state of emergency declared by President Guillermo Lasso due to serious internal commotion across different parts of the country. Roadblocks and clashes have been reported in protests across the nation. The protests first began on June 13th and were called by Ecuador's main indigenous organization against Lasso's government. The group demands the government lower the cost of gas, provide a solution for unemployment, regulate the prices for agricultural products, and combat crime. The leader of the indigenous organization has called for the protests to remain peaceful. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The highest court in Kansas declares the state constitution does not prohibit partisan gerrymandering. On Tuesday, the justices split 4-3 in explaining their reasons for previously upholding a Republican congressional redistricting law. The state Supreme Court issued only a brief opinion last month in approving the new congressional map. The court's majority said the Kansas Constitution permits legislators to consider partisan factors in redistricting. Joplin residents get an update on the process to add Easttown to the historic National Register. The Broadway district of Easttown has now been nominated to that register. If it becomes approved, it would recognize the significance and history of the area to its community, preserve and archive the generated research, and allow for special funding for the district. The district would need to be approved by the state first and then the federal registry. Pride Month is celebrated nationwide and here in the 4-state area. One small business in Independence, Kansas is reaping the benefits this June. Magnolia scents by Design is widely recognized in the community for being proud supporters of the LGBTQ+ groups. The store, that was started by a gay couple, notices an increase in sales every year in June. The diverse group of employees and owners have made it their mission to provide an inclusive environment with progressive values. The couple and employees have continued to make it a mission for their store to grow in acceptance. According to the CDC, more than 600 heat-related deaths occur annually in the U.S., and one of the most common places is at the construction work sites. The construction crew of RFB Construction in Pittsburgh combat heat by wearing hats, thin, long-sleeve shirts, staying hydrated with water and electrolytes, and adjusting start and stop times. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Beautiful start with a little light cloud cover, giving us a gorgeous, gorgeous four-state sunrise here on this June the 22nd. And we also, too, have a little bit of rain. Now, you got to go into our far northern counties to find it, but there's coming down a pretty good clip right there on that line that lasts from Emporia just to the north side of Garnett, in between Ottawa and Garnett. Key factor of this being that if you've got to make that trip up to Kansas City this morning, either along Highway 69 or eventually I-49, that's what you're going to be running into before you actually get to KC. We're watching this thing take more of an easterly push than it is down to the northeast. Haven't seen a whole lot of southerly dip with it. As far as our storm reports go, these are actually from last night when this thing was able to pick up some steam. It's very disorganized as of right now. That's a good thing. It's almost considered what you would say is a weak system. And that's not to make light of what it was able to do overnight, but that's kind of the extent of it right now. It is throwing down some lightning, and really haven't seen a whole lot of it been able to even split off and get into the central portion of the four states. For those of you, it looks like Bourbon County, southern portion of Bourbon County right now. Every now and then a raindrop with that cloud cover. But there's the storm tracks and kind of the cheat sheet, if you will, about how it's pushing off to the east. As we get over 7th and Range Line, look at the number of colors we got out there. That's about perfect right now. 73 degrees is where we stand. 68 in Monette, 73 in Miami, 76 in Chanute. Eventually, we're going to end up in the 90s. Now, the only thing that we've got advisory-wise is we are hanging on to a heat advisory throughout the portions of northeast Oklahoma that are indicated in orange. See that gray right there? It's not a dense fog advisory. I know the color codes sometimes, because the National Weather Service has so many colors and codes that sometimes they appear to overlap. That gray is an air quality warning that's coming out of the Tulsa area. So if you have respiratory issues and live in the southern portion of the four states, know that that could pose a problem later on this afternoon. Best thing to do is really, once the heat gets it going, and the drivers get out on the road, that's another key factor. If you do have respiratory issues, best thing to do is probably stay inside. 7-day forecast with spotty showers lasting through Thursday, then get ready for the massive warm-up on Friday and Saturday as we roll 96 and then 100. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
A teeny tiny frog is getting its 15 minutes of fame thanks to a video showing the little hopper cannot jump. But the small amphibian's clumsy leaps of faith have garnered him a new fan base. Jeannie Moose reports.
If there's one thing a frog can do, it's jump, right? Uh-oh, another crash landing. The miniature Brazilian frog known as the pumpkin toadlet is inspiring pity for being the klutziest frog on Earth.
Do they ever stick the landing, ever?
No. Zoologist Rick Essner has recorded hundreds of pumpkin toadlet leaps, spurring them on with a straw.
One of the species I worked on was not much bigger than a housefly.
Here's one compared to a pencil. When they leap, they land on their backs, they land on their bellies, they even do cartwheels, evoking a wave of sympathy. It needs a hug. People relate to the disastrous landings, me jumping into a new relationship. The pumpkin toadlet prefers to crawl.
They jump rarely.
Yeah, well, you would jump rarely too if you landed on your head every time you jumped.
For sure.
Florida Museum of Natural History added waltz music. The researchers published their theory. that the canals of the frog's vestibular system in the inner ear are so tiny they don't work well enough to keep it oriented in flight.
Do they hurt themselves?
That's a really good question. They're really small, so generally small things don't break bones.
And most seem to have extra bony plates protecting their heads. It's an itty-bitty frog that makes an itty-bitty noise. Zoologists unite.
I think what you need to work on is a little tiny, tiny helmets for them.
Forget a frog in your throat. These landings are enough to leave your heart in your throat. Jeannie Mose, CNN. New York.
A silly frog. We'll be right back with another look at your forecast.
7-day forecast with temperatures in the 90s and spotty rain showers through Wednesday and Thursday. So let's go ahead and jump into Future Track and kind of talk about this weak low pressure system that's moving through. Luckily, it never gets too organized. Now, that's not to say that we won't get, 10 to 15 minutes of some heavy rain that'll come down as it works through and lasts all the way through Thursday. But at the same point in time, we are able to avoid staying out of the fray for anything severe on the severe thunderstorm risk map. Now remember, after that, scorcher will break down Friday and Saturday right after this.
Coming up, yesterday marked the beginning of summer, which caused some Joplin businesses to celebrate.
Cause for celebration is beautiful blue skies on a Wednesday morning, but at the same point in time, we're also beginning to deal with some thunderstorms. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And at least one small business in the four-state area sees sales go up in June during Pride Month.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Nothing makes me happier when we open up a show and we have the Mickey Mantle statue outside of Commerce High School. It's one of my favorite things in the 4 states. Beautiful, beautiful shot over 7th and Rangeline. Took the camera, turned it off to the northeast right there. A little bit of cloud cover, giving us the gorgeous June colors. Now that being said, remember, this is in Joplin. Everything is quiet, mundane, comfortable, 73 degrees. We've got 70 in Neosho and Monette. So the reason I point those out is we were sitting down below the 70-degree mark south of I-44 just in the past 20 minutes. We're up to 75 in Parsons, 72 in both Pittsburgh and in Lamar. So we go from a beautiful sunrise in Joplin up here to the north, where we've got some bouts of heavy rain, thunderstorm activity coming down, got lightning strikes associated with that. Key factor of this, well, it's in our far north right now, and we're seeing a little bit of movement here, trying to stretch from Garnett down to Iola through Yates Center, some shower activity. But the key factor about this is it's moving off to the east. So Highway 69, I-49, going to be squarely in the midst of that should you be making the trip up to Kansas City today. We have heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma indicated in orange, air quality index warnings as well. We've got a new one that just popped up. That's in the gray, excuse me, before I get ahead of myself. We got a new one coming out here. This white is what they call a special weather statement, is what the National Weather Service refers to that as. And let's go ahead and put the radar over that. And you can tell that is a little thunderstorm activity beginning to pick up right there. The special weather statement was thrown up because winds in excess of 30 miles per hour. I'm not going to scoff at that, but at the same point in time, they have not had any hail associated with it. Local storm reports have been pretty negligible as far as this morning goes. But that's something we'll keep our eyes on here. It is pretty close to Greenwood County. And we'll track that for a little bit. 90s today, sporadic rain throughout. It's not organized, it is not severe. It's going to kind of come and go. Really, Tanya, when you consider Wednesday and Thursday, number one, we need a little rain. I know that sounds crazy, but actually we do because we've been so hot for the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Vegetation's starting to show it a little bit. And also, too, it'll be a nice little reprieve before Friday and Saturday kick in because we're going to see expanded heat advisories. We're going to see excessive heat warnings. Saturday, we're going to feel, it's going to feel about 107 to 110.
That's miserable. But these little chances, I mean, they're not going to be prolonged shots of rain?
It's 10 to 15 minutes. Some of them last 20 to 25 minutes, and then it'll be gone. And then you get an hour break. And then it'll come back in and it'll rain for 10 to 15 minutes, and it'll be gone. Yeah,
and not everyone's going to see it either.
Not everyone, no. And I think the most, I'd say we pick up by the end of Thursday, quarter to half an inch. No flooding concerns.
One of those where, like, if you wash your car, it'll get you. If
Bingo.
you didn't wash your car, then it won't get you.
Right. If you go to the car wash, you're pretty much, you're doing the rain dance for your community.
There you go. That's how we promote local business.
I was actually going to do that. I was going to do that this afternoon, and now I'm going to back off of it.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Well, the highest court in Kansas declares the state constitution does not prohibit partisan gerrymandering. On Tuesday, the justices split 4-3 in explaining their reasons for previously upholding a Republican congressional redistricting law. The state Supreme Court issued only a brief opinion last month in approving the new congressional map. The court's majority said the Kansas Constitution permits lawmakers to consider partisan factors in redistricting. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly shows her appreciation to child care workers by giving out bonuses. Governor Kelly announced her administration is giving out $53 million as a reward for the workers' incredibly essential and hard work. About 22,650 early childhood care staff members across Kansas will receive bonuses ranging from $750 to $2,500 per person. All eligible child care workers will receive a letter in July outlining the process to accept the bonus and will have until November 18th to accept it. Parsons, Kansas police are warning residents about a scam text message pretending to be from Amazon. Authorities say the point of the scam was likely to get personal information from the victim. Officials from Amazon say they will never ask for personal information over text messages or calls. If you receive a suspicious text with a link in it, do not click the link. Instead, log into your account through a web browser. Joplin residents get an update on the process to add Easttown to Historic National Register. The Broadway district of Easttown has now been nominated to that register. If it becomes approved, it would recognize the significance and history of the area to its community, preserve and archive the generated research, and allow for special funding for the district.
The criteria is the baseline is they have to be 50 years old. And they have to have some sense of historic integrity, and that what they say, would the owner recognize it if they came up today as their house or building? So that's the baseline, but after that it should have like some type of historic story.
The district would need to be approved by the state first, then the federal registry. Pride Month is celebrated nationwide and in the 4-state area, and one small business in Independence, Kansas is reaping the benefits this June. Magnolia Scents by Design is widely recognized in the community for being proud supporters of LGBTQ+ groups. And the store that was started by a gay couple notices an increase in sales every year in June. The diverse group of employees and owners have made it their mission to provide an inclusive environment with progressive values.
The culture that we've created here is definitely inclusive, is definitely diversity rich, is definitely a place that the community can come and gather. So we've almost turned into a little, gay mecca for these little towns, The
couple and employees have continued to make it a mission for their store to grow in acceptance. We'll hear from an employee of Magnolia's later in the show. Well, Tuesday marked the first day of summer, which means several Joplin businesses are celebrating the summer solstice. And people had a chance to get a stamp at Blue Moon, Blush, Sophie, Beast and Barrel, or Planned Parenthood. They also had the opportunity to enter to win more than $300 worth of gift cards to downtown businesses.
I love the community of downtown, and I love that Beast and Barrel and the plant store are being included in this summer solstice kind of girls' night out event. It makes me feel very happy to be a part of all of it.
People could also enjoy food and drinks along their shopping routes. Well, inflation is an obstacle for a lot of businesses, including a Carthage boutique. Tiara Haas is the owner of T-Squared Boutique. She's determined to stay affordable despite her business costs rising. Haas decided to make her boutique online only to compensate for the inflation in shipping, products, and leases.
There for a while. sales were down, and I hate and I really miss meeting the people that come into your brick and mortar store. Like, I'm a people person, I love to talk, so I love having the face-to-face contact with the customers. I really miss that.
Haas says the move to online only has also sped up how quickly she can get orders out. Well, today, back in 1944, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signs the GI Bill. This unprecedented act of legislature was designed to compensate returning members of the armed services, known as GIs, for their efforts in World War II. As the last of its sweeping New Deal reforms, Roosevelt's administration created the GI Bill, or as it was known officially, the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, hoping to avoid a relapse into the Great Depression after the war ended. FDR wanted to prevent a repeat of the bonus March of 1932, when 20,000 unemployed veterans and their families flocked in to protest Washington. The American Legion, a veterans organization, successfully fought for many of the provisions in the bill, which gave returning servicemen access to unemployment compensation, low-interest home and business loans, and most importantly, funding for education.
I think the Legion was the driving force behind all service members being eligible for the GI Bill, because I think that Roosevelt had this idea that it was going to be kind of scaled off college for high performers and the loans and the unemployment for those who needed it the most. And the Legion was the one who said, no, anybody who fought should be eligible for this.
That's right. Well, they gave us their time.
American Legion motorcycle ride coming up.
Yes, kicks off Thursday. Legacy Ride. It's a 4-day ride all through eastern Kansas.
That's right.
Yep.
You can find more on that interview at KOAMnewsnow.com. Weather trend for today, pushing up around 90 degrees. Rain coming and going. It's not going to be one of those where we need to prepare for like a day-long event, but it'll move through for the afternoon. Then we're back at it on Thursday. But you'll notice it never really gets organized enough. You know, we never get one of those extreme diagonal bands that send us, the heavy wind and the hail and all that. It's really 2 normal summer days, because when we get this hot, as we have been lately, we get that instability with the Gulf moisture, and the fact that this is a weak front, sporadic rainfall, not a bad thing. And we're still ahead if you go back all the way to January 1, Tanya. We're still 6 inches ahead on our annual precipitation. But we really need some here for what we've had past 2 weeks. Vegetation, it's starting to wither a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. We could use a sprinkle here and there.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Be welcome. Yep.
Get rid of the dust out there. All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Carl Junction Chamber of Commerce stops by to tell us why you should vote for the city in a competition hosted by the Missouri Humanities Council. We'll have all the details. Plus, Deshaun Watson, the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, settles some of his ongoing lawsuits. And new data reveals how many adults in America suffer from insomnia. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, the family of Dante Wright reaching a settlement with Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Police officer Kim Potter pulled over Wright during a traffic stop in April of 2021. She mistakenly drew her gun instead of her taser, fatally shooting Wright. Brooklyn Center has agreed to pay the Wright family $3.25 million. The city has also agreed to change its policies and training related to traffic stops. The family's legal team says the settlement, not yet finalized, will likely include training for officer intervention, implicit bias, weapons confusion, de-escalation, and mental health crisis. Potter was convicted of manslaughter for fatally shooting Wright. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison. A lawyer for the accusers of Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson say Watson has settled 20 cases brought by women accusing him of sexual misconduct. Attorney Tony Busby, who represents all 24 accusers, says 4 lawsuits are still ongoing. Some of the civil suits accuse Watson of sexual assault. Busby says the lawsuits filed by Watson's first accuser and 3 other women will be tried in what he calls in due course. Watson's attorney did not immediately respond to comment. Busby said the settlement terms and amounts are confidential. Meanwhile, Watson remains under investigation by the NFL. League could suspend him if it finds he violated the personal conduct policy. Grand juries in 2 Texas counties declined to charge Watson over criminal allegations of harassment and sexual misconduct. The Senate voted 64 to 34 Tuesday night to advance a gun safety bill to debate and possibly a final vote this week. Bipartisan group of senators released the text of the new gun safety bill. It comes days after haggling and negotiations where it was unclear if a final bill would ever emerge. The measure includes millions of dollars for mental health, school safety, and crisis intervention programs. Also lays out incentives for states to include juvenile records in the National Criminal Background Check System. Now the race is on for the Senate to approve the bill before the chamber takes off for the July 4th holiday. Not yet known if the 10 Republican votes needed to overcome a filibuster and pass will be there. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he supports the bill, and that could be a key indicator that it has enough support. On Tuesday, police in Louisville, Kentucky arrest a man in connection with the Saturday assault of Mayor Greg Fisher. Louisville officers took 30-year-old Antoine Brown into custody. Brown now facing a charge of assault in the 4th degree for allegedly punching Fisher at a popular downtown event complex. He's behind bars awaiting arraignment. In a statement, Louisville Metro PD thanking everyone who shared photographs of the suspect. That is a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back. We have a special guest in studio this morning, Kavanaugh Studeman from the Carl Junction Chamber of Commerce, who's here with a plea for our help.
Yes. Help us win.
All you have to do is vote.
It literally is that simple. Way back, probably about 6 months ago, I had nominated Carl Junction, and we sort of fit all of the criteria to be able to enter this contest with the Missouri Humanities Council.
Let's talk about what this contest is.
Yeah, so it is a showcase. It's called their Small Town Showcase. So top 5 communities in the state of Missouri win, a whole bunch of different stuff. So the whole point of it is to really showcase the importance of a small town and what makes them so special, whether it be you visiting because it's a tourist destination, or it's just, that Main Street USA, Main Street America, maybe you're interested in moving to a small town. And so Carl Junction, we qualify, which is the best town in the world. And if we win and we're in the top 5, some really cool things happen. Like they'll bring a film crew in and they'll shoot like a marketing promotions video and sort of showcase our residents and our school and our city and our activities that we have. They will do a spotlight in their magazine. They do a podcast. So there's so many different really cool things that could happen for Carl Junction.
Mm-hmm. And if Carl Junction wins, it's a boost for the entire area as well.
It is. I really feel like this is a region. And, a lot of times you don't know when you're driving through Carl, are we in Joplin? Are we in Carl Junction? Are we in Webb City? So it really is, I think, going to be a boost for this area. And word on the street is we're 4th right now. So we are,
wow.
So we just need more votes just to secure that spot in the top 5. And I'm just super excited for just the honor to be able, because, putting Carl Junction on the map, it's already being able to talk about it and them talk about it. So it's an honor regardless of what happens.
So if people want to vote, how do they go about doing so?
We have a couple different areas. So you can go to our Facebook page and it is a pinned post right on top. We also have a big old button on our website at carljunctioncc.com. You just click the link. And there's so many communities. I believe there's like 41 to 44 communities. You can read about them on their website, and you just click that vote now and submit your vote until the end of the month.
Do you have to be a resident of Carl Junction to vote, or?
You don't. You actually don't even need to be a Missouri resident. So that's what's so cool about the power of social media, because you can share our posts. Mm-hmm. If you've got family from other states, send it to them. Maybe you live in Florida, but you're from Missouri, you can vote for us. Mm-hmm. I'm just really, really excited. And I love Carl Junction. So this is a big deal for us.
Okay. Well, real quickly, tell us a little bit about why people should vote for Carl Junction. Tell us what's so special about the city.
Well, besides it being super awesome, but we have, the most amazing community. I feel like there's a lot of people, this whole area is an amazing community, but for Carl Junction, we may be small, but we are mighty. And, our residents and really support, the small businesses that we have, our school district. We're proud to be Bulldogs and supporting all of our teams and the school and our teachers. Anything they ever need anything, a resident needs something, everyone, you just really see a community come together and step up and really support one another. And that's what's so special, getting the chance to talk about those people, those lifelong residents, the people that, are from out of state that just moved here, why they moved here. We're special and tucked in our own little corner. Carl Junction, I love it. I live there, I work there, it's a really, really neat sort of relationship that everyone has for each other in our community.
Okay. All right. One more push for where to go to vote.
Yeah, our Facebook page, our website. There is a link there. Just click it, vote for us until the end of the month. And then hopefully I'll be coming back August 1st and I'll be able to announce that hopefully we're in the top 5. But send it, share it, do what you can for us.
That's what I'm going to say. After you vote, make sure you share that post as well.
Please, please.
All right. Power of social media. Let's make this happen for Carl Junction.
Come on, Carl.
All right. You got till the end of the month. Let's do this. All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much for coming on this
Thank you.
morning. We'll be right back.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a federal panel reviewing vitamin and mineral supplements is recommending against the use of beta-carotene and vitamin E supplements for the prevention of cardiovascular disease and cancer. The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force also says there is not enough evidence to support the use of multivitamins to prevent cancer and cardiovascular disease. More than half of U.S. adults surveyed reported using at least one supplement in the last 30 days. New government data finds 14.5% of American adults have trouble falling asleep. Survey from the National Center for Health Statistics also found more than 17% have trouble staying asleep. Women were more likely than men to have trouble both falling and staying asleep. A new study links the inability to stand on one leg for 10 seconds to increased risk of death for middle-aged and older adults. Nearly 2,000 older Brazilians participated in the study, which included a 1-foot balance test. Researchers found those who could not hold the balance for 10 seconds were almost twice as likely to die in the next 10 years. Forgive me, the reason I'm chuckling on that is it can also be an indicator if you're having sinus and ear problems, because I hearken back to when I was trying to put my socks on this morning. I had no prayer of standing on one leg, and now I read that it just cut 10 years off my lifespan. My goodness, that's a stark reminder when I do Health Watch to, I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to flush it out, I promise. Skywatch Storm Tracker, the rain beginning to pick up here into Allen County, just north of Iola. Let's throw on the lightning tracker and see what we're picking up. The lightning's staying up to the north so far. We get a little bit of it. That's in the last half an hour alone. If we manage that back to last 15 minutes, still staying up to the north and out to the west. But this is what we'll keep our eyes on here lately. And also, too, we had that special weather statement that came out of Emporia. Let's go ahead and remove the lightning. We can get a better look at everything. Winds right now, 30 miles an hour with this system. And that's about as far south as we've seen it go, as it's going to just click on the north side of 54. And 54 is going to get rain, but the hardest of the rain. Moving east right now out of Iola, so kind of that Fort Scott Mountain City Lacine line will be next. Haven't seen it swoop down as far as Chanute. We'll update our temperatures and come back right after this.
Coming up, the beginning of summer is here, and that caused some Joplin businesses to celebrate.
As the sun tries to break through the clouds, we're actually going to talk about 2 days of sporadic rainfall, the latest from the Skywatch weather.
And one small business in the 4-state area sees sales go up in June during Pride Month.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:31. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, Let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Beautiful start for the majority of the 4 states. There we are, live look outside the television city. Now, that's us. That's not everybody, especially when you get up to the north, as we've now seen some thunderstorm activity creep as far south into Allen County, along Iola, kind of skirting Highway 54 right there. And with everything pushing off to the east, next up will be, along 54, will be Highway 69 and then I-49 if you're moving up to the north. And we've seen some bouts of heavy rain with that. We've been able to really avoid any local storm reports. All these are from the system last night. And we've also seen it really expand from us all the way north up through Kansas City. So geographically, it's getting larger. It's just getting larger to the north and to the east. Not really affecting any of the central portion of the 4 states, and a very quiet 7th and range line in Joplin, 73 degrees. And even up to the north where we're starting to get a little rain, Iola's dropped a couple degrees, but still hanging on to 71, and Fort Scott right there at 71 as well. 73 in Miami and 72 in both Carthage and Lamar. Speaking of the storm system, let's check out the lightning. And once again, we see it in the far northern counties. So lightning really not a threat. We haven't had any wind or hail with this so far. It's just going to be sporadic showers. Kind of a typical 4-state summer day in the fact that the rain going to come and go throughout today into the afternoon and evening hours. And even on Thursday, it'll gather a little bit of steam, but it's a very weak system, and it loses a whole lot of its organization when it gets over us. And we're actually needing a little bit of rain. Not for the annual amount. We're way above still as far as January 1. But it's been so hot and dry lately that some rain showers aren't going to hurt.
Yeah, we could probably use a few showers.
And this is the nice part. This is unlike what we got during April and May, and the fact that we get torrential rainfall and we pick up 3 to 6 inches all at one time. No, this is just a good old-fashioned shower activity.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of farmers are out there in the wheat fields cutting right now. So
been busy.
They definitely don't need that torrential rain. So thankful for that. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin residents get an update on the process to add Easttown to the National Historic Register. The Broadway district of Easttown has been nominated to that register. And if it's approved, it would recognize the significance and history of the area to its community, preserve and archive the generated research, and allow for special funding for the district.
I wanted to highlight just the perseverance of Joplin's African American community, and it hasn't always been easy to live here, especially at the turn of the century where there were expulsions and lynchings throughout southeastern Missouri. There's quite a bit, and the sense of resilience and perseverance that I discovered when I researched it, it was stunning.
District would need to be approved by the state first and then the federal registry. Arvest Bank gave the Joplin School District a check to wrap up its 2022 Million Meals campaign. Million Meals is an annual fundraising event held by Arvest Bank to help feed people in the 4-state area and raise awareness about food insecurity. On Tuesday, Arvest gave the Joplin School District more than $8,800 to support Joplin's Bright Futures.
So Arvest's partnership with Joplin Bright Futures has continued for so many years because we really feel like Joplin Bright Futures makes a real difference in these students' lives and kids' lives across the entire 4 states.
The campaign raised money for more than 1.9 million meals across the Arvest footprint, with 109,000 meals given in the 4-state area. Tuesday marked the first day of summer, which means several Joplin businesses are celebrating the summer solstice. Folks had a chance to get a stamp at Blue Moon, Blush, Sophie, Beast and Barrel, or Planned Parenthood. They also had the opportunity to enter to win more than $300 worth of gift cards to downtown businesses.
I love the community of downtown, and I love that Beast and Barrel and the plant store are being included in this summer solstice kind of girls' night out event. It makes me feel very happy to be a part of all of it.
People could also enjoy food and drinks along their shopping routes. Fort Scott community members are preparing to welcome cyclists from around the world as they compete in the Race Across America bike race. The race began on June 14th for single riders and Sunday for groups. And one family in Fort Scott has opened its home up to riders every summer since 2015 by providing free food, a space to rest, and a popular pumpkin bread. On Tuesday, a cyclist team in the U.S. and other single cyclists from Europe stopped at the family's home where they were greeted with the free goods.
We got started because people needed to use a bathroom in the middle of the night, and when the gas station was closed, there was no bathroom. So people saw that we were following the race, so they started asking, can we use your bathroom? Not a problem. That's how our house got started as the time station.
The journey from Oceanside, California to Annapolis, Maryland is more than 3,000 miles. Well, Pride Month is celebrated nationwide and in the four-state area. One small business in Independence, Kansas is reaping the benefits this June. KOAM's Bella Line has more on the story.
Behind me is Magnolia Scents by Design, a local shop in Independence, Kansas that began in a college house in 2006. Magnolia Scents by Design began as a way for Brian Height and his husband Ryan to afford presents for friends and family while attending college at Emporia State University. Over the last 16 years, the business moved from selling candles out of their house with homemade catalogs to having a successful storefront in downtown Independence. But making home fragrances is only part of their brand's mission.
Yes, we sell lots of great smelling things that we make. That's wonderful. Great. That makes us cool, but it's not what really makes us special. And so we decided to hang our first pride flag a few years ago, and we just kept building and building.
The business has attracted employees and customers, a part of the LGBTQ plus community, to support the diversity-rich store.
We have had several, I would say probably high school and college age kids, with ICC being here as well. We have a lot of local kids that come in that are just like so excited when they see our pride candles and that we're a safe space here.
The store sells pride flags, stickers, and candles with names of well-known activists in the LGBTQ plus community, which has come with little backlash, but initially raised concern in the owners.
Absolutely terrifying. We did not know. I mean, even so simple as having something stolen or a window broken, or we didn't know. We put up a pride flag. Everybody knows what that means. That was the first kind of staking of our claim out loud, visibly, in front of people, inarguably.
Magnolia Scents by Design continues to be a staple of acceptance and diversity in Southeast Kansas. Okay. In Independence, Kansas, Sounds good. Bella Line, KOAM News.
Magnolia Scents by Design says it sees an increase in sales every June due to overwhelming community support. Well, today, back in 2001, blockbuster hit movie The Fast and the Furious was released. Fast and the Furious, a crime drama based in the underground world of street racing in Southern California, debuted in theaters across the United States. In the film, directed by Rob Cohen, Paul Walker starred as Brian O'Connor, who was an undercover cop who infiltrated the illegal late-night racing scene in Los Angeles to catch a gang suspected of hijacking big rig trucks to get the parts to outfit their souped-up cars. The screenplay for the film was based on an article about the street racing scene titled Racer X by Kenneth Lee, which chronicled the adventures of a racer living in New York City. Despite mixed reviews from critics, Fast and the Furious was an unexpected hit at the box office and spawned several sequels.
What are they up to now?
I don't know, 10 probably. 9.
Nine? They're up to 9?
I think they've made 9.
I enjoyed the first one, really the first two. It was, it's fun, kind of mind-numbing. It's got Michelle Rodriguez, so that's, I'm locked into that. But then when the nuclear submarine came out of the ice and they were chasing it in cars and there were missiles and
Well, everyone, you have to go bigger. That's the thing. It's like you have to do better. You have to do something more spectacular than the one before. I mean, you're not just street racing anymore. You're racing on the ice.
I just
You've got military vehicles, and I mean, you're in the air. There's excitement.
Yes, I forgot they had the cars in the air. I forgot about this. No, at some point in time,
I love it. And then you had Tokyo Drift that we don't talk about.
Wasn't it the one that was like out of order?
It just.
But if you knew your order.
But then they referred
Right.
back to it later on. So I mean, they tried to tie it back in and make it make sense, but it was just weird.
More Michelle Rodriguez. How about
Yes.
that? That's what we should do. Skywatch Storm Tracker with the thunderstorm activity filtering as low as Highway 54 right now into Allen County, just on the other side of Viola. That thing's coming down pretty good. Let's see what we're getting here. Oh, that's a little surprise there. That's not about. There we go. 1.34 inches per hour. That's heavy rainfall, just north of Viola. And that thing's just going to track along 54. So once again, up next will be the Fort Scott, Mound City line on Highway 69. Then we'll head toward I-49. Everybody else, though, central, south, just beautiful, beautiful sunrise is really what we have right now. Sporadic showers throughout the course of the day, highs around 90.
Top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Kellogg's decides it wants to split itself into 3 companies. Plus, home sweet home. Everyone has somewhere they call home, and today we want to know, what do you call home? We let you weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, stocks regained some lost ground on Tuesday after last week's steep drop steered by inflation and recession fears. Investors will be monitoring congressional testimony today and tomorrow from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell for clues about the Fed's approach to soaring prices and the outlook for interest rate hikes. Last week, the central bank announced it's raising rates by 0.75 percentage point. That's the biggest increase in nearly 30 years. Kellogg says it's splitting into 3 companies. The maker of Frosted Flakes, Rice Krispies, and Eggo will become separate businesses, with each focusing on cereals, snacks, and plant-based foods. Cereal and plant-based food companies will remain in Battle Creek, Michigan, while the snack company will have corporate headquarters in Chicago. Snacks account for some 80% of Kellogg's sales. The Justice Department announces steps Facebook will take to prevent discriminatory housing advertising. The DOJ says it reached an agreement with Facebook's parent company, Meta Platforms, to settle a lawsuit. The agreement will have Facebook change its algorithms. The Justice Department says this was its first case challenging algorithmic discrimination under the Fair Housing Act. The Facebook spokesperson says the company is excited to pioneer the effort to improve housing ads. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Instapoll and our Facebook page, talking about Home Sweet Home, as Erica De Leon and Virginia Smith have only ever known renting, either through apartments or townhomes, but thanks to Habitat for Humanity and the United States Department of Agriculture, they now have a house to call their own. USDA investing more than $200 million to help more than 1,100 families and individuals. For many people, owning that home, the essence of the American dream, and having a place to call your own can make for a very home sweet home indeed. Our question for you this morning is, where do you call home? 87% of you say it is a house. The other 13% coming in at mobile home at 7%, apartment at 3%, and RV at 3%. Each and every morning, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. That'll take you right to the poll, or you can go to KOAM News Now on our Facebook page, and we'll get you to the poll. We'll be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, let's stop into New York and check in with Gail.
Hello to you, I'm Gail King. Coming right up on CBS Mornings, you can't always believe everything you hear. You know your mother told you that, especially when it comes to political ads. Tony shows us why truth in advertising stops when political campaigns begin. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Private Henry Martin Sr., the Webb City, Missouri native, served from 1918 to 1919. He's part of the 1st Company, 3rd Battalion, 164th Deport Brigade. To Private Henry Martin Sr., we thank you, today's four-state hero.
Our birthday list begins with Lindley Harrison, celebrating her 4th birthday. Trying to figure out what got in the back. Oh, trampoline. That's what it is. It's a trampoline back there. Happy birthday, Lindley, from Papa and Nana. You be careful jumping up and down, kiddo. She's in Pittsburgh.
Aw, I can't believe she's already 4. Remember when she was just a sweet little baby. Happy birthday, Lindley. And Caden Greer, 5 years old for Caden in Joplin. Hope you have a wonderful day.
I'm digging that mohawk, Caden. I'm glad you brought that back, my man. I love that. We got the Graham twins, and we'll start with Wyatt, who is 16. Wyatt, a very happy birthday to you in Lamar, and I'll give Julie the sweet 16. Julie, a very happy birthday to you as well. Once again, Wyatt and Julie both celebrating in Lamar.
And Madison Nagel turning 21 this year in Pittsburgh. I understand Miss Madison just graduated from Southern in May and is about to begin medical school at KCU in July. We wish you the best there. And your birthday wishes come with love from the family.
Madison, a very happy birthday to you, young woman, and congratulations as well. You got great things ahead of you. Good friend of the show right here. Why? Why? Like, you know, I tout him as good friend of the show.
He's a friend to everybody. That's
I'm expecting him to be officially dressed, saving lives, because that's what he does.
Yes. And thank you for your recent assistance.
And this is, he does this. People aren't going to take me seriously that this man saves lives on a daily basis. We love you, Kenny.
But you know what? He does so with a smile, and that's why.
When Kenny, if you should ever need help, folks, Kenny Yoakum and his EMS crew will be there to serve you, and I promise, Kenny will not show up with a flock of birds. Kenny, please don't show up with a flock of birds on your next hospital, on your next ambulance run. Now, you know we love you, man. We can't thank you enough for everything that you do. Our good friend Kenny Yoakum celebrating 56.
Happy birthday, Kenny. And we've got Jackie Benham celebrating another year wiser. That's a beautiful picture.
What a beautiful landscape that is right there.
Enjoying the scene. Happy birthday, Jackie.
My goodness, that's great. William Kelly, War Dog Country. This is exactly what we did a couple days ago. William Kelly, a very happy birthday in Miami. And Debbie Church, celebrating in Miami. Debbie, a happy 68th birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
And you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up, when the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14, a firefighter collecting equipment for a great cause. That gear's going to end up in the Ukraine. We're going to find out why he decided to do all this when the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14. We'll be back right after this. A heavy rain starting to get on it just to the north of Highway 54, progressing toward Highway 69 and eventually crossing the state line headed toward I-49. Have not picked up any high wind or hail with it. We'll end up with a flood warning eventually for Greenwood County because of the amount of rain that really started last night and then lasted through this morning. Weather trend for today is going to be more sporadic showers after this heavier one kicks out from the northern portion of southeast Kansas. So we'll see it graduate to the central and southern parts and last until Thursday. And every now and then it really does pick up, but our ground's so dry, flood concerns are going to be very, very limited. Temperatures 90s for Wednesday and Thursday. And then, Friday and Saturday, that's when we're not kidding around. And push up 96 and then 100.
Ouch. Well, coming up today at noon, we are making key lime pie cupcakes. Yes. He knows how much I love those. In the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Tanya and I have a certain affinity for key lime pies. You cannot beat it. You just cannot beat it. Your morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Mornings coming up next. The digital mental health industry is booming. We're going to take a look into Cerebral. It's the nation's largest online mental health provider, and also how much it'll cost you.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Lori Lyerla stops by our studio to talk about why you should celebrate Neosho with her.
And Mark Zuckerberg becomes a bit of a fashionista despite being on somebody's worst dress list. That's not mine. I'm just happy he lets me log in these days. Wraps it up for this Wednesday edition. Hey, enjoy some time outside. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.